World of Warcraft's Fall from Grace. Yeah? Let's see what this is all about.
That power will be your prison.
Why would you do that? You're crazy.
And I
This did look pretty cool visually. Okay. Why? All right, listen. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back
God
to another
damn.
video. Today we are going to be talking about World of Warcraft and
All right.
the WoW Killer. Now you might be thinking, Callum, we've heard this all before.
The WoW Killer.
Everything is apparently the next WoW Killer. But what if I told you that WoW was the WoW?
This is what everybody's been saying, man. The only game that can kill WoW is WoW, man, and it's something a lot of people have. Yeah, it probably is true, man. It probably is true. So we'll see what he has to say.
That's right. World of Warcraft for the longest time has just been self-harming over and over again. These guys used to be the king of MMOs, and that's coming from me, someone who used to play WoW 24/7
The big MMO.
for years. There was a time where you couldn't drag me away from WoW for anything.
Probably,
It
yeah.
doesn't matter whether it was the next big game or an old game that's become popular. You could not drag me away from WoW. And
WoW
the
was
same
always
went
there.
for the majority of my friends group. So, what changed? Now, the thing that sparked me to make this video was the recent revelation of Asmongold moving to Final Fantasy. This was enough for me to look into this and see what the recent events were that have really solidified people's...
I mean, I think from like Asmongold, he's like a content creator, right? And like WoW is in a state where, you know, there's maybe not a lot of stuff to do right now. So like, you know, you're a content creator, there's another MMO, might as well give it a try, dude. I don't think he's like moved away from WoW.
Move to Final Fantasy. For the last 6 years, World of Warcraft has been that dude in your DMs telling you that he's going to come round and give you that dick.
What?
Trying to hype himself up. Until, of course, he comes round your house and busts in 2 seconds.
What?
This has been WoW for the last 6 years. They are incredibly,
Happens a lot.
good at hyping up their trailers.
True.
Their cinematics and trailers are second to none. I will tell you.
To be fair, Ace's sisters, I was very disappointed with this trailer. Like, visually, don't get me wrong, it looked amazing. Okay? It looked amazing, but like, what happened? I was like, what? I expected something more, you know, a lot different. But the trailers are good. Like, the visual department of WoW, like, you know, whatever, who does the art and stuff, they've always been really good, I think.
Tell you that now, and I will tell you that in 5 years' time. Their cinematics are flawless. They are incredible.
You wanted Mommy
They
Milkers?
are possibly
Yeah.
the best cinematics I've seen for any games ever, hands down. And that it works. It hypes people up. I have fallen for this for 4 of those 6 years.
God.
I go back every time I see the cinematic, and I'm like, yes, I am ready for this. This is
Perfect example of this was for me Warlords of Draenor. Watching those cinematics with like, you know, those old big like lore characters was insane. It got me so hyped for the game, man. I was actually like ecstatic, and I didn't play WoW at all before VOD. Like right before that game, I had quit WoW completely. Like I was done, and I came back because of the trailers and stuff, right? So
it's going to be the redemption arc. After playing this expansion that has been in development for the last 2 years, for only a week, I'm basically out of content. Out of meaningful content. And recently, that has been a story that I've heard on repeat. Each expansion, each person, it's the same thing. WoW has strayed so far from what it once was that they've lost their grip on the MMO genre. Now, in the past, people have always said, WoW is dying, WoW is dying. No, other MMOs were spawning, and WoW was having to share the market with them. That is not proof of an MMO dying. That is proof of another MMO thriving. So what?
I think that's actually a healthy environment, though. Like, the more competition there is, the more they have to fight to make their specific game the most attractable, right? So, like, if you have a monopoly of something, like, if, let's say, like, you know, WoW has monopoly on MMO genre, and there's, like, no other good MMOs, like, not even remotely close. then like, you know, why would they care, right? But if there's lots of like good MMOs to choose from, it's like they want to work harder, right? So yeah, let's see.
Change now. Aside from the constant disappointment of every expansion,
Sad.
hyping themselves up and then just showing off nothing but a flaccid penis, it's essentially WoW has become so corporate.
He goes in, man.
In the last few years, since the acquisition by Activision, they've lost their grounds. They've lost their path. They're no longer what they used to be. They used to be a passionate team of people. And they were really good at that. They were so connected to the player base that they were an unstoppable force. Now, with every unstoppable force, there is an immovable object.
Oh,
and that immovable object is the player base. And what do I mean by that? The player base has decided that they're not going to take the BS any longer. They are not going to settle. WoW was the only big MMO that even that didn't have to fight for any sort of market share.
The thing is, I feel like this happened a lot though in terms of WoW, where everybody's like, dude, I'm over WoW, man, I'm gonna quit. But then like, you know, they I mean, fair enough, they do stop playing, and then like a new expansion or a new patch comes out and like, maybe I should, you know, play a little bit again, you know, oh shit, you know, and then like it just comes back to the same cycle, right? But we'll have to see if that cycle can be broken or not, you know?
There was no competition. WoW could sit there and remain unchanged, and players wouldn't really have any other options.
Satch.
Now, I know, most of you are probably going to say, but RuneScape has always been around. And I'll tell you something. Me and the majority of my guild in WoW played both at the same time. They weren't competing against one another. In fact, they were in such different spaces that you could play both at the same time. And I mean,
I guess, yeah.
You know, play one day, play one in the evening. I mean literally at the same time. If I was raiding in WoW, I could be AFK woodcutting in RuneScape.
Dude, that's some next level. Holy cow. Okay, I've never done that, to be fair. I'm the sort of person, if I play a game and I'm like, that's my main game, I'm like full focused on that, man. That's how I am. Personally, I'm like, I want to focus on this thing, right? Because I get so into that. I'm like a very like one-track mind kind of guy, right? So I can't really agree too much with that, I think, personally at least.
From one another. Now you've got games like Final Fantasy 15 that
maybe
have come in
maybe
and truly challenged WoW. Now it's been doing this for years. This isn't a new revelation. But what is new is the landslide of people leaving WoW. It started off with a lot of smaller WoW content creators changing over to Final Fantasy. This has been going on.
Okay, I don't think a lot of people have changed. I think a lot of people are trying it out. Like, we'll have to see. Like, I mean, maybe they have though, but we'll have to see, right?
For years, and if I'm honest, I think Asmongold has been the boulder that started rolling now.
Part of it, yeah.
Little YouTubers, 20k subscribers, up to 100k subscribers. The little pebbles and rocks rolling down a hill one by one, or, you know, a few at a time. And now they've triggered a boulder. Asmongold has possibly just caused a mass exodus. And in fact, I don't even say possibly. He has. It's factually proven. In his recent...
I think it's quite crazy how big of like an impact content creators have. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like, no, I'm not talking about like, you know, super small, like the big boys, like the huge, like XQC, like Aspen, all those guys, man. It's they have like a pretty, they are pretty impactful for a lot of people's opinions and stuff, and like a lot of people's like how they perceive and do things, right?
VOD I was watching, and he started streaming Final Fantasy 15 on the 3rd or 4th of July. And a mere few days after that, Final Fantasy sales had spiked so high that they somehow sold out of digital copies, or keys, shall we say. Their servers are more alive than they have ever been. And this is not to say that they were ever dead.
I saw some videos of like Final Fantasy when they were running around the cities, and it's actually like insane how many people were running around the cities. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, imagine like Okromar at like the top peak of like classic WoW without like layers or anything. That's like how it was like in the city. Like, it was crazy. There was like cat girls dancing on tables and bunny girls like doing bunny girl things. Like, there were so many people, man. It was pretty ridiculous.
This is such a surge that I've even asked friends of mine who have been playing Final Fantasy 15 for the last 5 years, And they have said to me that these servers have never been so alive as they have in the last 2 weeks.
That's what I saw.
And this is a very dangerous place for the king of MMOs, for World of Warcraft. Because Final Fantasy have a new expansion, Endwalker, around the corner. This is not a recipe for disaster, but I would say a recipe for change. Because normally, WoW try to counter Final Fantasy's expansion releases with their expansion announcements.
It's like a battle, man.
They like to make people hold off. Honestly, WoW's got nothing to announce to counter this now. I think we are about to see a king fall from its throne.
No king rules forever.
At the end of Battle for Azeroth, and I will tell you what my experience was. 3 patches back to back, 6 months apart, 5 months apart, and all they gave you was a raid, 2 new dungeons, and a quest line that was dragged out over 6 to 12 weeks. Each week.
I mean, I didn't really play a lot of Shadowlands, to be fair, but it is pretty ridiculous how long people waited for 9.1, and like all that really happened was like a new one little zone and like a raid and a little dungeon, right? I mean, for 9 months of waiting, that's pretty steep, man. You know, for a game where you pay an active sub, you know, that's pretty steep.
Week, you would get about 60 minutes of questing, maybe an hour.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at this. This is the patches. Look at the patches, man. Vanilla. Look at all these patches. And then you have CPC. I mean, it's a bit longer, let's be honest, but it's still pretty okay. Wrath, and then like Mob was really good, and then like here now, you know, it's pretty crazy, man. Legion, this patch right here, man. Holy cow, Jesus Christ, and VOD. This was probably the worst time ever, man.
A half. And other than that, you'd log in twice a week for your raid, for your weekly raid nights, if you had a team. If you didn't have a team, you logged in for 60 minutes to do LFR. Other than that, if you were really low geared, you'd probably do the new dungeons. You'd probably do a bit of Mythic Plus. But again, you're running out of things to do on a weekly basis. And if you're the sort of player that's sat there itching for something to do, well, you're not going to find it. Unless you want to go back and do old content, which most people who've just joined the game don't want to. They want to be doing things that are going to progress their character now.
I think is that there is probably like plenty of things to do. It's just like you have to find those things interesting, right? And if you're not really interested in like maybe Mythic raiding or Mythic Plus, keep pushing quiche or farming like mounts and stuff, you know, it's like you kind of have to wait for new content then, I think, with retail at least.
Back to do old things isn't going to progress your character. And in a game that is so heavily revolvent around progress, you're not selling it to your players. And you've been failing to do that for the last 5 years. Maybe even the last 6 or 7. If you look at the graph of players that have subscribed to World of Warcraft across the time, you'll notice a very big trend. As I said earlier, in fact, it's like somebody trying to do kick-ups with a ball. And
this is pretty crazy. I mean, this is Wrath, right? Yeah, like Wrath right here is where it peaked. And it's just, I guess. But I guess it's because, like, this is not a good thing, but they are relying more on, like, you know, like MTX and like, you know, actual like purchasable things instead of like subscriptions for their income, I suppose.
They're not quite good at it. If you've ever seen a child try to learn to do kick-ups with a ball, they get that initial boost, maybe lower, then up again, but not quite as high as the last kick, down again. New release comes out, boom, we're back up, but not quite as high as the last one. And it's just this sinking, this thing that's, they're stemming the flow of people leaving, which is incredible. That they can even do that. They can bring people back for an expansion launch, but then they go dry for 6 months. No content. Do you know what doesn't have that problem? Final Fantasy. RuneScape. All these other games. They're successfully putting something out. Yep. I've heard of people that have left World of Warcraft for League of Legends, and these games aren't even in the same league.
You get it? League? Because it's the sorry. Okay.
One is a MOBA and one is an MMO. There is a MOBA that people are going to that has more content than an MMO. That, ladies and gentlemen, is possibly the scariest bit of it all. WoW is no longer just competing for your money and your time in the MMO space. It's now competing with games that don't even share the same genre. And it's kind of scary. I'll encourage...
I think the thing is, man, a lot of WoW players, they really want WoW to do well, but it's just like, you know, they're like, oh, frick. Like, you know, like, do we wanna do this or not? But like, I think deep down, everybody, if you're like a WoW fan, you obviously want the game to do well, right? So yeah. What's up, Doc? How you doing, man?
Encourage people to do their own research on this, because I don't want to give hard facts and numbers that I'm not 100% on. But I believe that the dips in WoW's subscription numbers as well hardcore correlates to the release of popular MMOs and new things that are coming out. And I'm going to say this in the next 5 days or the next week or the next month when New World releases fully. You're going to see a downtrend in WoW subscriptions.
We'll see about that. I mean, New World is very different from WoW. I feel like from what I played New World so far, it feels a lot more... New World's a very old school MMO, it feels like, because it's like a very craft heavy, and like it feels more like an RPG than really an MMO per se. It's like not your traditional MMO at all. I mean, not as WoW is traditional, I suppose, right? It's very, very craft heavy and profession heavy, I think. Which is like, you have to like care about that, I think. Valheim MMO, a lot of people have been comparing it to Valheim. Yeah, that's very true too. See.
I can guarantee that. Do you want to know how I know that? I'm one of them. I was tempted to come back to WoW, and then I saw New World. Is New World perfect? Nope. Is it going to replace WoW? I don't think so.
Probably not, no.
Is it going to offer me some content and experiences that I've not seen before in the first month? Yes, it is. And this is where WoW has failed. They are so stuck in their ways that they will not innovate. And the player base of no...
The thing about WoW, though, is that, man, it's been out for 16 years? I don't know, 16 years? I don't know, man. Like, a lot of years now, man. It's pretty crazy that they have stayed on top for so long. You know, it is pretty incredible, to say the least. It really, really is.
Is that? I truly think we are about to see the death of WoW. And it is WoW that is to blame. Never in my life did I think I'd be making a video about the WoW killer. I didn't think it could happen. But WoW is the WoW killer. And that's truly sad to see WoW's fall from grace.
The fact of the matter is that it is in a decline, right? It really is. So it's like, it's interesting having these conversations, I think. I really do think so, man.